It's man, it's machine, it's Wyatt, it's Bradley back with you here on the Fantasy Football Plus. Now, player profiler now plus network. Goodness gracious.
Long day.
What a start. What a day. Wyatt, it's great to be here with you on Man vs. Machine.
Yeah, happy to be here talking about everyone's favorite position, tight ends.
The tightest of ends. Today I was at a principal meeting, and it came up that the superintendents were like, wait, you're a principal of a school and you do fantasy football podcasts? Like, are you worried about any of the children or parents finding out that you do this? And I said, no, I don't have any issue. And they're like, aren't you worried that you have to censor yourself? And I'm like, I mean, I mostly do. We make the occasional tight end joke. But other than that, you know, it really is talking and focusing on fantasy football. And they're like, oh, okay. And I'm like, yeah, the bigger motivation is not that parents or students, but it's my children. Like in 10 years, they'll pull it up and be like, all right, dad was talking about this. So we will make some tight end jokes throughout this pod, but it is tonight's podcast. We're going to talk about some tight ends we want to target, some tight ends we want to fade, and maybe some deep cuts. I love the deep cuts. Wyatt, I know you're here for a deep cut once in a while.
Gotta love a deep cut.
Gotta love the deep cut. We will get to the deep cuts, but first is the targets. It's everybody's favorite. Is who are our favorites? Who are the people who are the players that Wyatt and Bradley are looking to draft? All things being equal, ADPs taken into account, of course, upside, different formats as well. We can chat about those. Wyatt, hit us with your first tight end target.
I was really likely to put either Brock Bowers or Trey McBride because I've been drafting them so much this offseason, but I've talked about them a lot on Twitter, so I wanted to go with a different target because I always try to give, someone along the range of ADP, but I'm starting off with George Kittle, who is somebody who I think is just likely to lead the San Francisco passing offense as a whole. Wide receivers, tight ends, everybody. I think he is the guy in that offense, just as he was last year. I think he's going to be the one that we want. I think he can be the number one tight end in scoring, just like he was last year. And if you want to hear more about that, you can check out the episode of Press Coverage where I had Dwayne McFarland. We talked about 49ers pass catchers. We kind of just both said, well, really, the one you want is George Kittle.
Yeah. I mean, look, you can talk yourself into a Juwan Jennings another year. Christian McCaffrey is still there, but George Kittle, he's been so consistent. And when he's healthy, he dominates. And he's being drafted so much later than, yes, I still have him in a tier below Bowers and McBride, but he's a lot closer, I think, in that ranking than what the ADPs are giving him, especially in the best ball streets. So to be able to target the number one receiving option possibly in the San Francisco offense that late, I'm here for that. I think that's a good player that I'm also targeting in the tight end room.
Yeah.
A tight end target for me is someone who was kind of forgotten about in Jacksonville last year. He's getting a fresh start. He's gotten the Joker title from Sean Payton, and that's Evan Engram. Engram has always been a consistent target earner throughout his time, whether it was with the Giants or the Jaguars, and we've seen him gobble up targets. And with Bo Nix, there's accuracy, middle of the field. This is a player who, as we mentioned, has historically been a target earner. Cortland Sutton, after him, who's going to be the targets in this offense? Devon Vele, Marvin Mims, who's barely able to crack 50% snap shares over the last couple of years. Evan Engram is the most obvious number 2 pass catcher in this Denver offense. So I want to be targeting him, and I think he's a couple spots lower than where he's going as tight end 8. I could see him getting into the top 5 this year yet again. So I'm drafting Evan Engram with the confidence of what Bo Nix showed us in this offense last year and the wide open opportunity behind Cortland Sutton.
Yeah, I'm in on Engram. He's not always been the most efficient pass catcher, but like you said, he does draw some volume, and he has a good chance to be the second leading target earner on that Denver Broncos offense, which is when you're looking for, tight ends who can really finish high up there. It's those guys who are first or second on their team in targets.
All right, hit us with your next target in the tight end room, Wyatt.
Yeah, so this is where we can get into a fight because we're going to go opposite sides of this argument because I'm going to say Mark Andrews, and I know where you're going to go on that side of that because we have a show sheet basically that says that. So Mark Andrews, yes, last year we did see his target share drop some. Some of that went to Isaiah Likely. I will admit that. But he was still a big deal for them in the red zone. I expect that to continue. I feel like there's some like lingering feelings about people thought he might not be longed for the Ravens at the end of the year, but that was pretty much just unfounded. I think everyone just assumed because he dropped that pass to end their season that they were going to like kick him out of the team. But that didn't happen. Mark Andrews is still that dude. And yeah, he is more reliant on touchdowns than he has been in the past, but he is their main red zone threat. And I'm into that. So yeah, I'm on the Mark Andrews train of this tight end room.
I want both of them. That's where I think maybe you weren't expecting that, Wyatt, is okay. I want both of them. I think they are both values. I'm here for Andrews. He's currently going 107th overall in ADP. Isaiah Likely is going at the end of round 12, round 13. There's contingency upside for both guys. Mark Andrews, we know you mentioned the red zone threat. Andrews has been the tight end producer, but the drumbeat has not gone away for Isaiah Likely. And the profile for Likely is, I think, also very interesting that people will forget. He was the number 2 PFF graded receiving tight end each of his final 2 years in college. Yes, like Coastal Carolina, whatever, like competition. But he's proven at the NFL level to not just be a tight end handcuff, which he still is. Yeah. But I think he's not just handcuff, but handcuff plus. And my projections have Andrews at 121.5 PPR points, Likely at 99 for the season, 15 and 13% target shares, 5.5 and 4.8 touchdowns, like very similar. And so I'm in on Andrews at his price and also in on Likely at their price. And there's contingency upside for both of them. So I'm here for drafting either one and targeting Likely, partly because he's just cheaper. Yes, you're going to get a little bit less production. We know the touchdowns were not necessarily sustainable for Andrews, but I do think his target share is going to be slightly impacted by Likely.
I'm not quite in on Likely yet, although his price is starting to drop now since people have realized that Mark Andrews isn't leaving the team, and he's getting back to a price where it's starting to become more attractive. In your just normal seasonal leagues, you probably can't draft Likely and feel confident playing him week 1, but in best ball, I dig his price just kind of in general because he can have spike weeks even with Mark Andrews healthy. We saw that last year. My one note though about Likely is after that week 1 explosion, he had 2 games where he went over 10 PR points the rest of the season. So that you can't actually rely on him. He can have some spike weeks in best ball, but he does have that contingent upside in case anything happens to Mark Andrews. We know that he will be very, very good. So he does have his place.
All right, Wyatt, hit us with your last target.
David Njoku. Who I've just been fighting the good fight for David Njoku for a few years now. And, after the 2023 season in which it looked like a lot of his production came at the hands of Joe Flacco and only because Joe Flacco, I was out here fighting saying, no, Kevin Stefanski found the way to use David Njoku properly. He basically just made him into this short area outlet manufactured touch screen, merchant. And it became a very good big part of their offense because he's so good at that. He's so good after the catch. They made him, they tried to make Elijah Moore their check down receiver for a period of time, and that did not work. They eventually moved to David Njoku, figured out it worked really well, and that just became a part of the offense. Now, that happened to line up with Joe Flacco coming in as QB, but then that role continued through all last year. Last year, he's top 5 tight end in points per game. Yes, he missed a few games, so I think people have a little bit of sour taste in their mouth. But David Njoku is a producer. And something I've been hammering home through these shows, because of Browns players basically always come up, it seems like, is that the Browns have a high pace. Yes, their QB issues are valid. The QB issues are real. Joe Flacco
Sidor
might solve them a
Sanders
little bit.
getting a citation yesterday for 101 mile an hour. If you missed that one.
But Kevin Stefanski runs a fast-paced offense. They get a lot of plays off, and that helps correct all those woes. We saw these points per game happening last year with the terrible QBs. I'm not scared.
Yeah, I view David Njoku in the same tier as George Kittle, but like 80 spots later. Like his ADP, David Njoku right now is 129 overall.
It's free money.
It's unreal. He's best ball value rating, my tight end 3, right next to Kittle. So in that, like, we're haggling over like decimal points, but Kittle and Njoku are right there behind McBride and Bowers. Like that's the pathway. The volume is there. We think about Jerry Jeudy will get his. Sure. Cedric Tillman will probably get his. Sure, but not as much. David Njoku is the guy in the short yardage, middle of the field. And then there is some rumblings about Deontay Johnson earning that slot role, but we don't have high level of confidence.
I'll believe it when I see it.
We don't have a high level of confidence for that one.
Yeah, no. At this point, I have to see him actually on game day in a uniform on the field to believe he will be playing for the Cleveland Browns.
I mean, that's fair. It's fair. That's even more of a reason why to be in on Njoku if we have strong uncertainty about that slot role. Yeah. We want Njoku, and the price is so good.
Yeah.
The price is so good. All right, the final target for me in the tight end streets. I mean, look, you mentioned it earlier. You're drafting a lot of Brock Bowers, Trey McBride. McBride is my tight end 1 for the 2025. Bowers is 2, so it's haggling. But McBride is going almost a full round later than Bowers. Like he's going at 25 overall on Underdog. He's going 8 spots on average later in the FFPC streets. It's clearly Bowers being drafted over McBride, and this is a player who just touchdown regression is going to be in his favor. There's consolidated targets with Harrison and McBride and Connor. Like that's where the ball is going to go. It's one of those 3 very clearly. And Arizona, they're going to make up for the issues that they had last year. I don't know if they will for Harrison, but McBride, they're going to target him a little bit more. That's just natural, and he's going to earn the targets. They didn't bring in any significant competition this offseason, so they're just running it back with Kyler Murray. So I'm here for Trey McBride at the value. If you're targeting Bowers and McBride, like I want more exposure to McBride given the ADP discrepancy.
Yeah, I'm just in on elite tight end this year, like heavy. I love Trey McBride. They came out very close in my projections. I like Bowers a little bit more, but to your point, like the price on Trey McBride is getting better too. They're actually both kind of dropping like slightly right now. And I have this like working theory in my head right now. So they've kind of both been second round picks for a while. But if Bauer continues to drop, I think that pushes Trey McBride into the 3rd. And that's like really attractive. So yeah, if that happens, like I'm definitely be drafting much more McBride. He's definitely someone I want to have a lot of exposure to.
Oh, we want to expose ourselves to McBride.
Very much.
We're also going to want to expose ourselves to the Dynasty Dominator app. A word from Matt Kelly about the Dynasty Dominator app.
Hey, what if I told you there was a Dynasty app where you could get player lifetime values, evaluate trades, including draft picks out to 2028, compare the advanced metrics of 2 players, look up the sentiment, buy, sell, hold on players? Well, there is a mobile app that has all of that and more called the Dynasty Dominator, and it's $5 in the App Store on Google Play. This is my gift to you, the most affordable Dynasty League domination app available today. And if you already have it, the 2025 class is ready to download. Let's go!
That's right. The 2025 class is ready for download on the Dynasty Dominator app. Some of y'all have done your Dynasty drafts. Some of you are still waiting. There's a half dozen Dynasty leagues that I'm still waiting around for the commissioner.
I got one. I got one still waiting.
Be like, there's one commissioner that I'm in like a few different Dynasty leagues with, and he's like, I just do my Dynasty rookie drafts in August. I'm like, I get angsty, like,
yeah, that's too long.
Whew, the values on like a Dante Thornton go out the window, like, it's all right. It's all right. I know that there's, different ways in which commissions run their leagues, but the Dynasty Dominator app is with you every step of the way. So download it on Google Play or on the App Store. This is where we turn the table, Wyatt. We're going to fade some tight ends at their prices. Give us your first fade of the night in the tight end room.
Travis Kelce might upset some people with this one.
Taylor Swift especially.
Hey, no hate to T-Swizzle. I'm sorry, but your boy has not been looking good as of late. And my worry is with Xavier Worthy a year under his belt, Rashee Rice back healthy. Those are the targets you actually want in this offense. I think they're, that is where the future is for this team. Travis Kelce, I'm sure, is going to, catch the 5-yard hook routes and then fall down. And, in some PPR leagues, he might be able to get there for you. But like, I don't think the actual upside is there for him. Like, I have a really hard time seeing him being able to like finish top 5 in a season. Whereas like, you can just wait a little bit longer, draft David Njoku, who was literally a top 5 tight end in points per game last year, and who I think can do it again this year. So I love you, Travis Kelce. We've been through a lot over the years, but this year's not it for me.
Yeah, so the pathway for Travis Kelce, I could very much see him just Jason Wittening himself to tight end 10. Just like,
yeah, but when you get your tight end 10, that's what, like 8.5 points per game. I'm sorry, there's a emergency tornado warning in my...
Yeah, Wyatt and Bradley both under tornado/thunderstorm warnings, and we're states apart. So we are weathering the storms for y'all, bringing you the fantasy goodness in the midst of disaster.
I'm sorry, Wyatt... I thought I clicked mute before I went to turn off my phone, but I missed the mute button. So I apologize to everyone out there who got to hear the 5 seconds of that. My apologies, but go ahead, Brett, continue.
The people know. Look, if you look at Jason Witten from like age 33 on, he was tight end 10 in 33, tight end 13, tight end 16, tight end 10, tight end 15. And like, this probably is the last year for Travis Kelce. I don't see him becoming like tight end 20, but tight end 12 or tight end 10, given how far of a drop off that is. He's what, tight end 5 or 6 right now in most platforms. It's not a pathway to pay off that ADP there, Wyatt.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. This is also going to break some backs. My first fade is, the Dynasty darling. People love some Colston Loveland, and I don't mind him as a player I draft in the Dynasty streets, but especially given his ADP on most redraft or best ball platforms, he's the tight end 10. I don't see a pathway for him paying off that ADP. And if you're saying, well, he could be a top 5 tight end in Dynasty, we can argue till the cows come home. I don't mind that. I would like to be in line with that. However, especially in redraft and best ball, tight end 10 is far too rich, given the mouths that are being fed in Chicago, given that Cole Kmet is still there for this year. There's not really an opportunity to buy low though on Colston Loveland. He's getting decent dynasty draft capital as well. So like, people know that it's Cole Kmet's final year. There's not a good value on Loveland. So I don't mind being in line with market in the dynasty streets, but especially for this year, the pathway for Loveland to hit is there's a very thin thread for him to pay off. And And so that's why I'm out on him at 120 overall, tight end 10. Can't do it.
I'll just transition into my next fade because it's Tyler Warren, and I was kind of trying to pick between the rookie tight ends, who I both really like as players. In fact, I love Colson Loveland a lot. I think he was my tight end one in this class, but I think they're both in situations where it's gonna be really hard for them to produce year one. I think they have a bright future, but year one, I'm out on both of them.
Yeah, Tyler Warren, he might have some nice spike weeks occasionally, but yeah, they're back to back in those streets. We don't have a lot of confidence in what this Indy offense is going to look like. He could be good for Dynasty. Just the price is already built in the Dynasty streets. Tough look for the
too much competition for these boys.
Rookie tight ends. All right, my next fade, and this is so sad for me as a homer, but maybe this is also going to give some insight to the people. I was watching a video from someone on the Player Profiler site. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to, because that's just mean. But it was a person who said that Tucker Kraft was good at yards after the catch. That it was Tucker Kraft who scored a lot of touchdowns and was a red zone presence. And Tucker Kraft was, he was earning lots of targets, and the trust is there with Jordan Love. And I just disagree with that narrative because you're not watching the film. He was so open on some of these busted coverages that of course he's going to get yards after the catch. No one's around him. He didn't get juke out anybody. They just let him walk into the end zone for 30 yards, 40 yards. Like, this was totally a film versus data argument. I feel like we're switching roles here for a second, Wyatt, because I'm taking a man stance on Tucker Kraft that dig my hand in the dirt. You still have Luke Musgrave, who has better draft capital and was just injured last year. They've talked about using two tight ends. Musgrave was hurt, so it was just the Tucker Kraft show getting these snaps for the majority of the year. So the things that popped off, the efficiency was fake, the touchdowns were fake, and the wide receivers, like Dobbs was out for a game because it was suspended. Christian Watson was recovering from injury and then got hurt again. Jaden Reed, I don't even know what they're doing with Jaden Reed. That's a whole other thing that I'm really upset about. Like, as a Packers fan, like, use Jaden Reed. But now you add two other receiving threats. Savion Williams will get some manufactured touches, and you've got Matthew Golden. So there's the issue is that Kraft has been pumped up by these big plays, and now he's going as tight end 13. Like, what? No, like, I get it. Occasionally you can have big plays, but he had few big plays that just bumped it up. I'm not drafting Tucker Kraft. I'm not buying into the fake tight end production for year two, Wyatt.
We're going to fight on this one because I'm in on Tucker Kraft. Listen, number 2 overall among tight ends in yards per route run, number 2 overall in tight ends in yards per target last year. I know you can say that he had some wide open plays for him, but part of the reason why he even had those available to him is because he's on the field all the time. They rotate their wide receivers. They do not rotate those tight ends. Tucker Kraft cooked Musgrave, period. That is what happened. Musgrave, yes, had the higher draft capital. He started off their rookie years as the starter. He got hurt. Tucker Kraft came in, played much better than Musgrave was. When Musgrave came back, it was Tucker Kraft's room, and it's been that way ever since. I think he's a very talented player. I do think he's very talented after the catch. And I think he's a player who can continue to ascend in the offense. We keep talking about how all the wide receivers they have are like good, not great wide receivers. And none of them become real target earners. Well, why can't Tucker Kraft become a great tight end? And the way they've been talking about him this offseason, I think they think of him that way, and that he's only going to see his role increase in the offense.
Remains to be seen. I'm out on the Kraft mac and cheese. Hit us with your final fade here, Wyatt.
All right, last fade is Dalton Kincaid, who, let's be honest, has not really done much of anything since coming into the NFL. As a rookie, he did have a good amount of receptions. Credit to him. He did very little with them, though. And he's just in this awkward position where he's not a good enough slot wide receiver to play over Khalil Shakir, and he's not a good enough blocker to play in line over oh my gosh.
Knox.
Yeah, Dawson Knox. I'm forgetting his name because it's not like Dawson Knox is even that great of a tight end, but Kincaid is worse than him at playing inline tight end. And so he finds himself in this weird position where he's not good enough to do either of the things that you'd think the player like him should be doing. So he doesn't get a lot of opportunities. The Buffalo Bills continue to try to add players around, pass catchers around there, which, yeah, I know like none of them are that great, but the fact that they have to continue to add, I think is a problem for Kincaid. And there's been a lot of talk that he was injured all of last year, and I don't know how much of it we can believe or not believe at this point. I guess you kind of have to take them at their word to an extent, but it's not like he was doing much before that. He wasn't impressing me before that anyway. So I just don't really believe that this breakout's coming for Kincaid, especially because he was an older prospect coming into the NFL, who, usually those are more finished products. We don't tend to see those breakouts really happen for players like that.
Yeah, Kincaid is an interesting one because you mentioned the injury. I agree with you. I'm not sure how to read that situation because it wasn't reported very widely. It seemed like a pretty new thing that came out this offseason. He was 8th among tight ends in target share, 7th in target rate, 8th in target depth, 2nd in deep targets, 2nd in unrealized air yards. So like him catching the ball down the field, like why is it not translating? Josh Allen is still there. Like what was the issue? So I hear you. There's this supposed, collarbone injury that he was on the injury report for in week 6 for 3 weeks, and the knee injury in week 10, he missed 3 games for, but do we have confidence that he's going to hit? I don't know. Tight end 14 is also a steep enough price. At least he was a player that I was fading the last 2 years because his price was just like tight end 6, tight end 8, tight end 9. Like he's a little bit cheaper now, but I don't know if it's gotten to the point of being a target still.
Yeah. And if it's those injuries that he did miss time for were worse than we knew because he came back to play, that doesn't help us. And like, I applaud the toughness that NFL players have, but when they're playing through injury, when they should be recovering from those injuries, it doesn't help us. So, it's just an awkward situation. I'm trying not to blame the injury. Like I'm trying to say that when on the field, the play just hasn't been good enough.
Yes. My final tight end fade, and this is one that it's only a fade now because his ADP has risen so much. And I have pre-NFL draft, I was very in on Brenton Strange. I took lots of Strange. He had 2nd round draft capital. Evan Engram is gone now. This is a new staff that has spoken belief into him. Now I'm less in because of the price. Like he's increased significantly, and it's a player that, like, what upside could exist? He doesn't have amazing metrics. This isn't like he vibes like a Jake Ferguson type, like a Dalton Schultz type. Like that's how I'm like. Could tight end 12 be within his range of outcomes? Sure, but it's probably going to be more like tight end 18. So a player that has just increased in value that I've put a pause on. So Strange, I used to be in on, and now I'm fading him until we hear more.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you now. I really liked Brenton Strange earlier in the offseason when that price wasn't so.
I have like 35% pre-NFL draft Brenton Strange. Like.
Yeah, that was nice. Even directly after the NFL draft, he still had a good price, but he's just like steadily climb. And now it's getting to the point where if I'm drafting Jaguar stacks and best ball, like I'm still going to mix some in, but he is not someone I'm actually trying to draft a lot of. Yeah, that price, and I see no reason why that price stops climbing because it's been so steady. I don't know when it's going to stop. I'm just not in, I'm not in on the new price.
All right, this is everyone's favorite section, Wyatt. People they're here for the deep cuts. They want to know who late in the drafts, who are Wyatt and Bradley targeting? So give us one of your deep cuts.
I can't actually believe this guy is considered a deep cut, but I can consider him a deep cut. That's Hunter Henry because he goes so late and he shouldn't be. Like this guy's basically just a fringe tight end one year in and year out. I mean, the Patriots have added pass catching weapons, but I don't think Hunter Henry's role has gone anywhere. I still think he has a similar role to what he did last year in this offense. And that was a role that we liked for the price. Like he's probably going to be a streaming worthy tight end, high end tight end too, more often than not. And he's not being drafted like it. It's that simple.
Yeah. How many tight ends had a 20% target share last year? Oh, it was McBride. It was Bowers. Your Kelce was there, but Hunter Henry was also there. And yes, like New England brought in Diggs and they brought in Kyle Williams, but Henry still has his role. Like he's always tight end 15 or better. I've been arguing about Hunter Henry. It feels like for the last 6 years.
We're fighting that good fight.
Do you remember the narrative that he was like made of glass and just couldn't play because he would always get injured? And now we're like, well, he's just a given as part of this offense in New England. He's going to continue to play that way. He's a player. He's a coach's player. And I like him at tight end 22.
Yeah, it's ridiculous price. Ridiculous.
Another ridiculous price is tight end 29 right now, Juwan Johnson. Taysom Hill isn't going to play this year, and if he does, it's like week 15. Juwan Johnson, they signed to an extension. He's the tight end. Okay, so Chris Olave has concussion issues. Like, he's healthy now, supposedly. Great. Happy that he's, like, working his way back. Rashid Shaheed, significant knee injury. After that, who's catching passes in New Orleans? Alvin Kamara, yeah, but Juwan Johnson is a beast of a man. He's what, 6'4", 260? Like, this is almost an offensive lineman catching passes, but he runs like a wide receiver. We've seen spike weeks from Juwan Johnson, and he's going so late. I'm here for Juwan Johnson at tight end 29.
I dig it. There's a pathway for targets, and that offense and quarterback might not be that great. But when we're talking about the price that it costs for Juwan Johnson, you can play into the potential target share he gets. For sure.
Absolutely. Love it. Hit us with your last deep cut there, Wyatt.
Jatavian Sanders, who with Brenton Strange were my real late tight end, tight end threes on my best ball teams frequently. And while Brenton Strange's prices continue to rise, Jatavian Sanders has not. And I think they're kind of similar bets. Like good, not great athletes, decent enough to stay on the field most of the time and kind of ascending offenses, but there's some weapons around them that could, be ahead of them. But on Carolina, honestly, maybe it's more possible that he could ascend compared to Brenton Strange because Brenton Strange, Brian Thomas, we know is awesome. We expect Travis Hunter to be awesome. On the Panthers, we think Tetro McMillan's going to be awesome. And we think Adam Thielen is still kind of out there doing his, 5 yards and fall down thing. But after that, we don't have a ton of confidence in the other options. I like Jalen Coker, but I don't know how much he'll ascend. Xavier Legette looked terrible as a rookie. Why not Jatavian Sanders?
Yeah, Sanders is going as tight end 28. The other tight ends on the roster are Notre Dame products, Go Fighting Irish, but have not made names for themselves. Tommy Tremble, Mitchell Evans. It's okay. Like, those guys are fine backups. But Jatavian Sanders, he got 4th round draft capital last year because he ran a slow 40, right? That was like the big knock on him. He was
considered like a pretty darn good prospect, expected to be athletic, and he ran pretty slow. Kind of like Isaiah Likely when he came out.
Right. So it may take a little bit of development, and this is an offense that, as the tide rises, those are the types of players that will also rise. Like Bryce Young we saw last year take the next steps under Canales. There are better pieces. That the tide is rising. All the boats will be lifted. Jatavion Sanders is one of those players. I like him as a deep cut as well. My last deep cut, I know there's a lot of love for Gadsden. I get it. There's a lot of nice pieces to his profile. But we're talking about Tyler Conklin, the man who looks like a Viking, who has had at least 70 targets in each of the last 4 seasons and is just being forgotten about on the LA Chargers. He was in no man's land last year in New York, and now he gets a fresh start. You have to keep scrolling past like Noah Gray to get to Tyler Conklin. Look, I know not all of you are staying up late at night watching Tyler Conklin film, in your boxer briefs, but this is my life, watching Tyler Conklin do his thing. And Tyler Conklin, it has been a producer. He is trustworthy for the coaches to block and catch. And with a project like Gadsden behind him, this is the year to target a Conklin. Next year, if you want to take shots, or in Dynasty, you draft your late Gadsden, fine. I don't mind that. But for this year, we want to be in on Conklin. Tight end 34 is way too late for the presumed starter on the LA Chargers.
If I'm being honest, it's hard to get excited about any Charger tight end right now because, is Will Dissly going to still get a role? But this is one of those, you're in a best ball draft. You're going to be drafting 3 tight ends in your 18 rounds because, you went heavier on the other positions. You waited late. This is a room to attack because we could see a big value from that room. Someone could step up. Why not Tyler Conklin, right? And then they become a massive value from that room. I don't think they're really going to rotate their tight ends necessarily. Harbaugh's not really going to do that. I don't think Greg Roman's really going to do that. I think they're trying to find their guy, right? And if that ends up being Conklin, you will have made a massive hit.
Well, those are the tight ends, guys. We've had a lot of fun going through each of the positions. Wyatt and I have brought you the quarterbacks. Make sure you're checking out the quarterback episode that was last week, wide receivers and running backs in the previous weeks. We're going to continue to bring you very strong fantasy analysis, man versus machine, debate style, back and forth, agreement, disagreement, hedging a little bit occasionally, talking about the machine and the man. It's Bradley, it's Wyatt. Make sure you're following Wyatt on the X at WyattB_FF. You can follow me on Twitter at FFStalder. Any words for the people before we peace out tonight?
Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you. We'll see you next time.
Till next time, good luck in the fantasy football streets, everybody.